So the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Why is everybody talking about this? Why does Elon Musk care? And why are his Doge interns currently looking and taking a peek at some of those systems? Let's think about it. So the CFPB was set up basically in 2010, came up after the 2008 financial crisis, came with the Dodd-Frank financial reforms. And the idea was to give some kind of agency that would go after unfair and deceptive practices that harm consumers specific to the financial sector. So that usually means filing lawsuits, it means putting out guidance for banks to follow, and the CFPB actually says it would only have the regulations in place for any bank that has over $10 billion in assets. Well, that sounds good, right? Basically, any consumer who's been harmed, who's been scammed, CFPB is the place to go, right? You can go to their website, you can fill out a form, and maybe they'll file a lawsuit on your behalf. The only problem with this is we're using billions of dollars of taxpayer funding to do something that an organization in the government already does. It's called the Federal Trade Commission, and it's basically set up to go after businesses and firms that, guess what they do? They have deceptive or unfair practices that harm consumers. So the CFPB was set up to do exactly what the FTC does, just for the financial sector. So it's duplicative, doing exactly what FTC is doing, and really hasn't issued too much guidance. There have been a lot of lawsuits. It's made a lot of people very rich who the agency has hired as lawyers. But what has it really done for consumers? People will point the amount that the CFPB has brought back to consumers by lawsuits, getting it from the big banks, and many of those banks have actually decided to tune down a lot of their programs, free checking accounts, different interest-free projects that they've had and products. And that has meant that there's a seen output of CFPB, money that is returned to consumers, but then there's the unseen of all the innovation that we're not allowed to have as consumers because CFPB has been going out there like a very well-heeled attorney and making sure that no banks are ever going to try any new innovative product to offer to consumers. So really the good faith case is that the CFPB is really just doing what the FTC is doing. And if the FTC did its actual job, rather than trying to break up companies like Google or Meta or any others, and actually went after scammers, went after firms that harmed consumers, that had any kind of deception and was generally unfair, you could actually have an agency that does its job, but you have this entirely other agency, duplicative, doing the same thing and wreaking havoc for many of the fintech institutions and consumers that rely on it. So, is Elon right to go after CFPB? Is he right to take another look at it? Should Congress take another look at it? Absolutely. But it should have been done yesterday. Look, us as consumers, we want next level, cool, innovative products. This is the coolest part about having an open market, about having competition, about having all these different people competing for our dollars. And if many institutions are not willing to give us credit, not willing to give us an account because they don't want to fall under the ire of CFPB and whatever lawsuit they might file, that means us as consumers were harmed. So, is it a good thing? It does need another look. There are all types of reforms to look at. CFPB is an agency that, likely could be folded into FTC or Department of Justice or many others. But hey, always good to have a little bit more transparency and to figure out how the government works.